All right, here's the first story. For those who missed it, I assume most of you know this, but we have this video right here. The Maryland Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed after being struck by a container ship, slamming right into one of its central support columns, destroying the whole thing. 6 construction workers are presumed dead. Rescue efforts have been called off. This is breaking news. And the big question is, how does this happen? So here you can see aerial footage from the morning. What I think, let's play this video real quick to give you a step-by-step. You can see it. It's actually kind of small. I don't know if it's, here you go. You'll notice, I'll pause the video. Actually, I can't pause the video, but keep an eye on the ship. You see the lights actually turned off already. They turned back on. And now the lights on the ship are going to shut off again. There's a lot of speculation about why this ship, there you go, lights go off, heading straight for the central support. You can see all the cars. That appears to be some kind of tractor trailer driving across right now. This was around 1:30 in the morning today. And that truck driver right there, very lucky. You can see these work vehicles, not so lucky. And we're a few seconds out before this thing finally slams. And you can see the lights have turned back on. It sideswipes the support column, knocking the entire bridge to the ground. Now, here are a few more cars passing across. I do think that these cars make it safely across. I'm not sure. It's hard to know if they make it through. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I'm pretty sure when it came to who fell, it was the construction workers. So big vessel, force perspective. We're watching very slowly this replay footage. So any second now. And there it goes. It is sideswiping. There it is. So for those that are just listening, we're just watching this bridge collapse. This is crazy. This has just created an artificial barrier into into Baltimore's port, one of the largest ports in the country, affecting trade massively. Now, I watched this assessment by this guy he's got a YouTube channel about shipping, and he says, basically it's moving forward. The engine's cut off. They drop the portside anchor, which causes it to shift and steer right into that support column. The question is, as the White House says, it's not terrorism, and there's no indication it was intentional. How does an accident like this happen? Well, according to the Post-Millennial, the ship that struck the bridge was involved in 2016 crash and had deficiencies. Perhaps that's the reason. I got to say, I think we should operate under the idea that it was an attack, an intentional cyber attack, manipulating the control systems and the engines of the ship itself. And it would not be a very difficult thing to do. There have been numerous researchers who have published studies on the security of these large container vessels and how to manipulate them. It's entirely possible. I'd say, simple solution is, these crashes happen. They've happened in the past. They'll happen again. So maybe that's it. But considering we're in active war, as much as they don't want to admit it, and this wasn't just a crash, this shuts down one of our largest ports, I think it's fair to question whether or not there was a cyber attack on the United States, and operating under that assumption would keep us safer. But I'm curious what you guys think.
I don't think that to presume that it's a cyber attack is a bad idea for the government. And to be honest with you, considering the fact that the government has contingency plans for just about everything, like every eventuality that you could possibly come up with, I assume that the government is probably looking into this, or at least into the possibility, just because that's what the government does. I think for the people that are going to say, oh, it's ridiculous to even speculate, blah, blah, blah. Like, the government has plans for literally everything. So I'm sure that there are people looking in to see if there was a cyber attack. As for like the ramifications, I mean, clearly it's going to be a gigantic mess forever, or not forever, but for a long time, because the government's not going to clean it up fast.
Well, that means one of our major ports is shuttered.
That's the biggest part, in my opinion. That's the biggest thing that's going on is the effect on the economy, the fact that the whole port's shut down, and what it's going to mean for gas prices, for because you're starting to get into the springtime, travel season's coming and stuff. It's going to have a big effect downstream for the economy.
So we have this from the Baltimore Banner. They say, no, it's not World War III. Experts say bridge collapse, almost certainly not planned attack.
Almost certainly.
And here's what I love. Here's what I love. It's a tweet from Alex Jones that says something like, looks deliberate, like a cyber attack is probable. World War III has already started. And it says fake. Okay, I just love this. As soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, now I think it's a cyber attack. Because Alex Jones saying, this looks like it could have been a cyber attack. And they go, that's a fake tweet. No, it's not. It's his opinion on what he thinks may have happened. Just because experts come out and say it was an accident and not intentional doesn't mean you're not allowed to opine or that your opinion is fake. My opinion is I don't trust the government, and maybe it was a cyber attack. How is it a fake opinion? It's a real opinion. It could be wrong.
The concept of a cyber attack, that you're not saying that like the United States government attacked. It's like there are constantly cyber attacks, like all the time, and it's like what you would consider friendly nations testing other friendly nations. Yeah. The idea of of cyber espionage in the corporate world, that isn't far-fetched. That's common and happens every chance that a company gets. Right. Like my ex-wife works in cybersecurity for a
shout out to Phil's ex-wife.
No, I please don't do that.
Tell you Phil's gonna fire me tonight.
Maybe. Anyways. But the point is, like, there's a whole field of cybersecurity in the corporate world. So the idea that it couldn't be a cyber attack, I mean, by a state or whatever, that's the idea that it couldn't be is the actual far-fetched idea.
And the ship had flags from Singapore, right? Yep. So it's not like, I don't know. I feel like this could be a complicated geopolitical situation. Why would we rule anything out? Like, at what point? Why do we know so quickly that it wasn't a terror attack? I don't know.
It's just because like that's
just the narrative they want to put out there.
Well, it's just because it's literally just because.
But I admit I'm no
opposite.
Trust, you know,
it's the opposite of what Alex Jones said. It's the people that are politically incorrect or whatever are saying it, so we're going to take the opposite. And you saw this happen significantly during COVID, and we still see it. There are still people that walk around wearing masks. And you know that it's not because there's a significant protection that mask is offering. It's because they're making a political statement or an ideological statement. So it's very normal for people to be like, Alex Jones said it. Oh, he's crazy and he's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Without putting any thought into whether or not cyber attacks are actually common or not. And it's clear, considering the energy and effort that the United States, all governments and all big corporations, the amount of money they spend in defending against cyber attacks, to say that it wouldn't be a cyber attack, that's ridiculous.
So one assessment that I watched says the whole thing goes dark, engines shut down. Mm-hmm. Then they drop the port side anchor. I don't know if any of this is true. Causing it to steer right into the support column. Why would they do that? Many people, because of that, are arguing it must be DEI. Because they had a local crew navigating out of the port. That's usually what they do. And then they transport the person off before it heads on its way. I think it was going to Sri Lanka or something. So the power goes out. So they drop anchor, forcing the ship to go right into the support column. I mean,
I don't know anything about steering a big ship like that at all. So,
but it does steer right into the column. So these are just a handful of people claiming on the internet. They have running different channels saying if the power went out and they did nothing, it would have kept going straight. It would have gone straight underneath the bridge and just left. They forced it to shift and steer into the support column. Why? So maybe cyber attack. I don't know how they affect navigation systems or somehow negatively impact or sabotage the electrical systems.
But I mean,
no idea.
Think about it like this: like if the power goes out, it could be that the computers have to boot up.
That's what I was wondering. When the lights go out, and again, I don't know anything about boats. I don't know, guys. But
all I know about boats is if you shoot American boats, you're done.
Right. Boats, crazy stuff. But, there was this moment when the lights go out in that recording where I'm like, are they trying to like reboot a system on the computer? They have to shut everything down, and in doing so,
the emergency backup generator comes on. So it just takes a minute for that to turn on. So that it's not like they're trying to reboot it themselves. It automatically comes on when they lose power. So I don't know. There's another take on this by ethical skeptic who looked into it and then checked into the wind directions and the tide currents to see what direction he did it at 5 a.m. this morning too. And he goes, well, basically this was like a perfect storm of events with the full moon and the way the wind pulled and the currents pulled. He said, I don't think this was deliberate. So he kind of did his analysis. Then he said, all right, I'm going back to bed and posted that. But it was a good point to factor in all these, natural factors that you're not even thinking of when you're looking
What
at
did he
it.
say about the anchor
This
dropping?
is the only
though?
time that someone bringing up the
I don't
moon, and
think
I'm like, maybe that actually does matter.
Well,
huh?
the moon
Cool, 'cause
affects
of
the
the tide.
tide.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I'm just, is your moon in
And
Gemini or something?
Hold on. Everybody right now, when you're talking to a loved one and they say, oh, it's not a conspiracy, it was an accident, you go, no, it was the moon. The moon did it. I'm telling you. And they'll be like, what? And be like, no, it was a tide. And then they'll go, oh, you're right, it was the moon.
It does make me wonder, like if
Hilarious.
we could have a time machine. If Alex Jones had actually tweeted that this was an accident, if the Baltimore Banner headline would say, no, this was a deliberate attack.
Right.
That I would love to know how that would play out. If it's always going to be hardline, whatever, this, one side of the debate.
Right.
It was
Clings on
politicized.
to.
It was
just wanna know what
politicized
happened.
immediately.
I just want to know what happened with this anchor, right? So like, if there's a malfunction on the ship and the anchor drops, or does someone press a button and the anchor drops? Like, I just don't know enough about boats. I came unprepared to IRL. I was not expecting to.
I used to
be an
sail
expert on-
competitively, and I can tell
Here we
you,
go, Texas Lindsay.
an anchor dropping does not immediately stop your boat. It's got to catch onto something. It's got to sink.
Which
it's
is why
got
you
to
see
weigh
that
down.
slow drift, right?
But I've never been on a boat that size before. What did somebody say? It was like 3 million.
80,000 tons or something
80,000
like that.
tons?
I this morning I tweeted a thread by, I don't know who it is, Cyber Gibbons is the name, like you would spell it. And I'm retweeting it now, and he goes through what he saw, and he does a good layout of how ships that big work, how the different voltage on different engines that they have to use. I guess they have to use multiple engines to start the main engine and stuff, but he goes through a big list of it. I just retweeted it. If anyone is interested, you can take a look at it. But it does sound like to me, it sounds like I don't know what caused the power to go out, but once the power was out, it was doomed. As soon as the power went off right in the beginning.
Yeah, but not to slam into a support column.
What I'm saying is they couldn't
drifts
get
that
it
way.
back. It was drifting, and they didn't have the ability
And
to
it's
get control.
moving at a fast
So-
pace because of the weight, too. So
Yeah, but it's not going to turn. Something turned it.
Those currents
that's what
at
I'm-
like a harbor are going to be so intense, and that's why you have a harbor pilot that actually drives it. Like they live there and study that just to make that passage.
How is
and
this
there's-
possible?
wind.
How is
think
this
tides.
possible?
Science.
No.
It's crazy.
How come there are no large barriers protecting central support columns
Oh, I
for
don't know.
bridges
That's a good
that
question.
cost tens of millions of dollars and took 5 years to build, and whose destruction could disable one of the largest ports? How is there no large barrier?
And one of the only roadways that allows hazardous materials. Like, you can't take hazardous materials, from what I've read today, anywhere else that has the tunnels that go through Maryland or Baltimore. They have to take this route. Now they can't. So it's going to...
How am I supposed to hear all of this and then think anything other than it was an intentional in some way?
Well, who's going to benefit from these routes being
Russia,
deterred?
China,
But who was at the helm of the ship? Do you think it was
Singaporean.
a Singaporean?
Like,
I thought
No, it was
local.
they say it was a
Ukrainian.
local harbor crew, but it's a Singaporean ship.
Well, it could be a cyber attack, but I just think that I think you have to have proof of that, or at least be seeking proof to
Sure, let's
investigate
play
that.
Occam's razor then. This ship driver slipped on a banana peel, spun in circles, and headed directly for the one part of the one of two parts of this bridge that would destroy and disable one of the largest ports in America. Or we're at war and our enemies have been cyber attacking us relentlessly. In the news already, there are numerous reports of Chinese cyber attacks on the United States. So the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions is we're at war with Russia. Russia targets a ship, disables the largest port in America, versus a perfect storm of weather, tides, an ill-prepared crew, two random power outages, and a dropped anchor at the most inopportune time, causing it to shift perfectly to the central support column of a bridge that collapses, killing people, disabling hazmat transportation, and shutting down one of the largest ports in this country. Okay, by all means, that may be the explanation, but the simple solution right now is our port was attacked.
By the moon.
No, that's the crazy one. It's like, well, the moon was there and the tide was here and the wind was blowing in this direction. Look, man, when it comes to 9/11, what like we were attacked. That's the simple solution.
But they knew immediately that we were attacked, and they knew exactly who did it within hours. Like, that was the craziest thing. So that was like all that
This
came
is
out
my
really
point.
fast.
When
But
it comes-
but it's not come out at all about who's behind this.
No.
Now.
Because of politics. My point is, when it came to 9/11, there was no question of pilot error, the perfect storm, planes had been veered off course. No, they knew exactly who did it, how they did it, why it was done instantly. So here we are, and they're not the same circumstances. I get it. They're very, very different.
If there were two boats, I think we'd know. If there were two bridges and two boats that have been hit, then we would absolutely be in agreement. This is
my point is simply intentional act makes the least amount of assumptions than the perfect storm of accidents disabling one of our largest ports. Like it's a strong coincidence that while the U.S. was just accused by, I shouldn't say the U.S., but Western intelligence was just accused of aiding these terrorists in Moscow.
Well,
a day later,
they're not just accused. Victoria Nuland's departure speech bragged about what's going to come and how she had a present for Putin, and then it happened.
So perfect, fine. Vladimir Putin comes out.
She admitted it and warned, and then it happened. So,
which is complete to my point. Vladimir Putin says, "You guys attacked us," and so now we have to make a bunch of assumptions. Putin has not retaliated against us. China is not aiding and abetting or taking any concerns here. Venezuela, Iran, North Korea, none of our enemies have any interest right now in targeting ships to disable a bridge. That's an assumption. Maybe the attacks are happening somewhere else. They're attacking our southern border, sending drugs and criminals and stuff. Then this ship lost power at the worst time, dropped anchor, causing it to spin. Then the power kicked back on and kicked off, slamming into one of the central support columns, knocking out this bridge, disabling one of the largest ports and our hazmat transport for the East Coast. I just think while both are entirely possible, the simple solution is we were attacked.
Do you think it would be better for Biden if it was an attack or worse? Because my thought is here, if it were an attack, he could be like, I'm going to rally support. We're going to go after these guys. But by admitting that it was an attack, he's admitting that we're weak. You know what I mean? Well, like, what spin would the Biden administration want?
I got to be honest. I mean, like
Biden's whole campaign though is we're weak and we're going to build back better.
It very well may be just an accident. Totally fine. Accidents do happen. I'm not suggesting I have any evidence that it is a cyber attack. I'm saying it would be simpler to assume it was a cyber attack. Now, as to why the U.S. would deny it, to be completely honest, I can make up 50 million reasons why they would or would not want to deny it. It's just really about whether you think one may be true or not. That being said, if it's coming to say like the art of war, you want to win the war before it starts. The U.S., China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, the BRICS nations, the NATO countries, they want to align their chessboard in the appropriate places before they begin trading pieces. So they want to know that they've actually set the board for victory before the hot war kicks off. That could be a disadvantage to force your enemy into declaration of a hot war, which shifts the priorities of a nation or causes the president to lose. If Joe Biden comes out, and this is all hypothetical because there's a million and one arguments, this is not the case. I think it's fair. I can make any argument. Joe Biden comes out and says, this was retaliation by Russia for our direct involvement with the Ukrainians and what Victoria Nuland said in supporting terror attacks in Russia. His approval ratings dropped to 1. Instantly, everyone says, you did this, you triggered this. I really don't see a scenario in which Joe Biden comes out and says, we are under attack. And people go, yay, Joe Biden, great leader. No, they say, get him out. This proves everything we've said about this guy being completely incompetent. Donald Trump goes on TV and says, this is could not be tolerated. Our country being attacked. Joe Biden caused this. So there's really good reasons for them to be like, no, just an accident. But again, I'll stress, we have no idea. We literally have no idea. It's really just going to be whether you decide to or not. But I will stress, when that article came out and was like, this is a fake tweet. I have the tweet pulled up. Here it is. Alex Jones says, looks deliberate to me. A cyber attack is probable. World War III has already started. Quote tweeting Andrew Tate, who said, this ship was cyber attacked. Lights go off and it deliberately steers towards the bridge supports. Foreign agents of the U.S. attacked digital infrastructures. Nothing is safe. Black Swan event imminent. Ron Paul has been warning about a Black Swan event. We've been concerned about the potential for cyber attacks. We have numerous stories right now in international media of the U.S. and the U.K. furious that China keeps launching cyber attacks against it. Then this happens. They go, no. Ignore everything that's been in the news so far. This was an accident. And it was just a perfect storm of tides, wind, the moon position, a bad, poorly trained crew dropping anchor at the wrong time where the power went out abruptly for some unknown reason and then caused the ship to steer right into the support column, knocking out a bridge, disabling one of the largest ports in the country. I just find that really difficult. You know what I mean?
I think in this case, both people are wrong. You have the paper that's wrong and Andrew Tate that's wrong because they're both saying that he's not right and the newspaper is saying that this is absolutely not true, and he's saying this is absolutely not an accident. So the absolute problem is where you have the issue, because yes, it could be a cyber attack. Yes, it could just be an accident, but automatically trying to fact check and shut down and silence what one person says or discredit them and hurt their character for saying something, but he didn't word it right. He doesn't have proof that it was a cyber attack.
We have a super chat. Corey Anderson said that he's been in the military for 19 years. He says, if I was a terrorist, I'd take out a tunnel. Look, I disagree. If you're a terrorist, perhaps sure, because you're trying to target civilians and disrupt civilian life and morale. If you're a military, if you're a foreign adversary, you're looking at ways to stop an economy. Shutting down a large port is war tactics 101. The Union forces in the Civil War blockaded southern ports to strangle them out. This is war 101. Disable a port.
Well, tunnels
That's
could
why
be
I'm
next. Because now the hazardous materials can't go across that bridge, and now they have to go through tunnels, and they have to get a permit to go through
north.
the tunnels.
They'll go north and around Baltimore.
Baltimore, somebody from one of the Baltimore officials today said that they'll just have to get a permit that take a few weeks in order to go through the tunnels in Baltimore.
A lot of trucks will probably just divert around Baltimore, adding a lot of friction to the transport process.
81's going to get crazy.
Oh, dude. I mean, this is bad for us, too, because we used BWI, which is right by the bridge. And so that means traffic's going to get backed up and it's going to be brutal. Plus, there's big shopping areas over there. It's going to get cluttered, and it's already super cluttered. But look, you can make the argument, Corey. I think it's a fair argument. Yes, they would be targeting tunnels and civilians. Unless the goal of a foreign actor is disabling infrastructure, which, I mean, I got to be honest. Do you want to attack civilians, which rallies public support against you, or could shock a system? I mean, maybe. Or do you want to take out your enemy's ability to drive their car? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you choose to do if you're trying to win a war? Do you scare people, disable the internal routes of a city, or remove the entire opportunity for them to bring trade in? I don't know. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.